Howdy do, folks. It's your old Uncle Jason here to drop some deep truth on you. And this week, we're going to start with Max Lucado, I guess that's how you pronounce it, Lucado, experiencing the heart of Jesus for 52 weeks. So this begins the first week, so I encourage you to follow along. Get yourself a copy of this book. You can get it at Walmart. It's usually in that book section, or even at the front on that little Turnibaba thing. Every Walmart's different, but generally the same. Or you can hit up Walmart.com. It's got a lot of books on there that for your reading pleasure that'll bring you closer to God. So without further gilding the lily, let's get into it. Week 1. The God you can trust. Here's a big question. What is God doing when you are in a bind? When the lifeboat springs a leak? When the ripcord snaps? When the last penny is gone before the last bill is paid? When the last hope left on the last train? What is God doing? I know what we are doing. Nibbling on nails like corn on the cob. Pacing floors, taking pills, I know what we do. But what does God do? Big question. Real big. If God is sleeping, we're duck soup. If he is laughing, we're lost. If he is crossing his arms and shaking his head, then saw off the limb, honey, it's time to crash. What is God doing? I decided to research that question, and being the astute researcher that I am, I discovered some ancient writings that may answer this question. Few people are aware, in fact, no one is aware, that newspaper journalists roamed the lands of the Old Testament era. Yes, it is true that in the days of Noah, Abraham, and Moses, reporters were fast on the scene recording the drama of their days. And now, for the first time, their articles are to be shared. So I proudly share with you heretofore undiscovered conversations with a man who can answer the question, what does God do when we are in a bind? This interview is between the Holy Land Press, HLP, and Moses. HLP, tell us about your conflict with the Egyptians. Moses. Oh, the Egyptians, big people, strong fighters, mean as snakes. HLP, but you got away. Not before they got washed away. You're talking about the Red Sea conflict. You're right. That was scary. Tell us what happened. Well, the Red Sea was on one side and the Egyptians on the other. So you attacked? Are you kidding? No, my people were too afraid. They wanted to go back to Egypt. So who told everyone to retreat? No, we didn't have to go. We didn't have anywhere to go. I told the people to stand still. You mean the enemy coming and you told them not to move? Yep, I told the people, stand still and you will see the Lord save you. Why would you want the people to stand still? To get out of the way of God. If you don't know what to do, just sit tight until he does his thing. That's an odd strategy, don't you think? It is if you're big enough for the battle, but when the battle is bigger than you are, and you want God to take over, it's all you can do. Okay, then. So then you escape. We were delivered. Oh, sorry. I knocked you a little bit out of the way, folks. We were delivered. What's the difference? There's a big difference. When you escape, you do it. When you are delivered, someone else does it, and you just follow. That's the end of the interview. So what do you think? What does God do when you are in a bind? That question can be answered with one word. Fight. He fights for us. He steps into the ring, points us to our corner, and takes over. You only need to remain calm, and the Lord will fight for you. Exodus 14:14. Remember what I said in the hardest spiritual meal about reading the Torah? That's one of the reasons, folks. It has a lot of who God is right there for you to discover or rediscover if you've read it before and just simply forgot. His job is to fight. Our job is to trust. Just trust. Not direct or question or try to yank the steering wheel out of his hands. Our job is to pray and wait. We wait for God to catch us. Much like I would catch my daughter Sarah, I can remember standing 6 steps from the bed's ledge, my arms extended, hands open. On the bed, Sarah, on all 4s of her crouches posed like a playful kitten. She's gonna jump. Back more, Daddy. She stands and dares. I dramatically comply, confessing admiration for her courage. With each step she laughs and claps and motions for more. When I'm on the other side of the canyon, she stops. I extend my arms. Once again, she crouches, then springs. Superman without a cape, skydiver without a chute. In that airborne instant, her only hope is her father. If he proves weak, she'll fall. If he proves cruel, she'll crash. If he proves forgetful, she'll tumble to the floor. But such fears she does not know, for her father she does know. She trusts him. How many of us can say we do the same with the Lord? Think about that. 4 years under the same roof have convinced her that he is reliable. He is not superhuman, but he is strong. He is not holy, but he is good. He's not brilliant, but he doesn't have to be to remember to catch his child when she jumps. So she flies, and so she soars, and so he catches her, and the two rejoice in the wedding of her trust and his faithfulness. How do I know this is true, that his care is enough? Nice prose, but give me the facts. How do I know these aren't just fanciful hopes? Part of the answer can be found in Sarah's little leaps of faith. Her older sister, Andrea, is in the room watching, and I asked Sarah if she would jump to Andrea. Sarah refused. I tried to convince her. She wouldn't budge. Why not? I only jump into big arms. If we think the arms are weak, we won't jump. For that reason, the Father flexes his muscles. God's power is very great for us who believe, Paul taught. That power is the same as the great strength God used to raise Christ from the dead. And that's Ephesians 1:19 and 20. Next time you wonder if God can catch you, read those verses. The very arms that defeated death are the arms that awaited you. Next time you wonder if God can forgive you, read those verses. The very hands that were nailed to the cross are open for you and I. The next time, if you wonder if you'll survive the jump, think of Sarah and me. If a flesh and bone-headed dad like me can catch his child, don't you think your eternal Father can catch you? Something to think about, folks. Something to think about. Now, we get into the heart of the matter. Now, this is where, if you have your own copy of the book, you can use the margins and the spaces provided to write what your responses are. I highly recommend you keeping a journal along with this, much like the series of The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warden. You can keep yourself a journal and record your thoughts on everything that we went over today. So let's go over this. The heart of the matter. The first, if you're not sure what to do, allow God to take the lead. Get out of the way. Let God do what he does. Be still and know that I am God. Second thing, God's job is to fight for you. Your job is to trust him. It's something to remember. Not by power nor by might, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. The very arms that defeated death are the same arms awaiting you. They defeated death, hell, and the grave, folks. And those same arms, as powerful as they are, they're just as tender to hold you, to accept you, to forgive you. Remember that. You can trust that God will catch you when you leap to Him. When you have a chasm between you and God, it's one of those deals where you take a run and jump to get back to Him. No matter the cost, no matter the obstacle, you get your hindquarters on back to the Lord. Because where else can you go? Whom else can you run to but to the Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of our fathers, the God of the universe, King of kings, and the Lord of lords, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Now for the memory verse. Take a few moments to review your Bible memory verse for this unit and write out the words of 1 Corinthians 8:3 by heart in this space below. That's the memory verse. Let's go back here. The memory verse, 1 Corinthians 8:3. Sorry, folks. I keep knocking the books around the pig, so I keep knocking you over. Now, the heart of Jesus, the final section of this. Jesus was a teller of parables on this earth, and his stories reach into the very hearts of his listeners. Can you find yourself in the parable of the lost sheep? Are you one of the 99 safe in the fold of faith? Or are you the wanderer, the stray, the outsider? This one lonely straggler, stumbling in the darkness, just jumbled emotions and mounting fears, with wistful eyes, tear-stained cheeks, you walk aimlessly. Uncertain of your path, you wish for the shepherd's guiding staff. Limping, you long for the shepherd's gentle touch. Then your ears turn at the sound of a voice calling your name. Relief floods your weary heart as the shepherd lifts you on his shoulders. Tears of gratitude fill your eyes as he tends to your bumps and bruises. The scripture says that we all, like sheep, have gone astray. But Jesus calls to us, cares for us, carries us home. On to the next page. Now, for the weekly Bible study, I want you all to understand this, and I want you all to get it in your spirit and write it all down as I read it. I highly recommend you getting a copy of this book. That way you don't have to worry about writing down as I'm doing it. So the first thing you need to do is read 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 1 through 11, and Exodus chapter 14, verses 1 through 14. The first question you need to answer, does God care? We are not the first to ask that question. What trials did Paul face that could have caused him to question God's care? You see verses 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. The second question is, how did Paul choose to respond to these trials? How do you describe the extent of his trust in God's care based on his words? See verses 9 and 11. What did Paul say that he experienced during his trials? What did he say that had abounded in his life because of everything that he had gone through? See verses 3 to 7. This is the fourth question. God revealed his care for the Israelites by freeing them from bondage in Egypt. But what did he tell Moses would happen when they arrived at the Red Sea? See Exodus chapter 14, verses 1 through 4. Fifth question. What questions did the people have about God's care when they saw the Egyptian army approaching as they camped by the Red Sea? Verses 10 through 12. Question number 6. What strategy did God give the people for how they would survive? See verses 13 through 14. How do you think you would have reacted if you were in the Israelites' place? And the last question, our approach to life says a lot about how much we believe God cares for us. Do you believe that God's arms are, quote, big enough to catch you when you take a leap of faith? Those are your questions for this week, folks. So I'm going to leave you with that. So until next week, for the next chapter of Deep Truth, Experiencing the Heart of Jesus in 52 Weeks, I want you to go through this video again. Keep watching it until you get it right. I recommend you getting the book. That way you have it to walk along with. I encourage you to get in the Word, stay in the Word, as we learn and experience the heart of Jesus. So until we meet again, folks, stay safe, stay blessed, and as always, stay in the shadow of the Almighty. This is your old Uncle Jason signing off.